Hi, Happy New Year! Welcome to Koastermania. I'm Micah, and today I wanted to talk about the upcoming new announcements this year and discuss which I'm most excited about. This new year has some big news and some surprises, and I can't wait to discuss them further. In 2022, we got quite a few announcements in the amusement industry. Some are bigger than others as far as what is being changed, but this doesn't always make them better. From revamping areas in specific parks to new coasters being installed, there's a lot in store for this new year. Hopefully this year we'll even get the chance to experience some of these new things. I'm going to be discussing my rankings for what I think will be the best new coasters upcoming for this year. Number 10. Aquaman Power Wave at Six Flags Over Texas. Let's be honest with ourselves here. Do we really know if this coaster is ever opening this year? I have no idea. Six Flags seems fairly confident that it is, and maybe they've finally been able to iron out the kinks that have been plaguing this new coaster. This Mock Ride's Power Splash will launch at 62 miles per hour with a max height of 146 feet. This one looks to be fairly fun, but doesn't do a whole lot other than going out, back, and then giving you a decent splashdown. The hill in the middle does look like it might provide for some decent airtime, however. If it does open this year, I'm curious to see what the reception is going to be like. Number 9. Arctic Rescue at SeaWorld San Diego. This is an Intamin family launch coaster with a length of 2,800 feet and a top speed of 40 miles per hour. There are a lot of family coasters opening this year, and Intamin seems to be doing a good job at getting parks to build these. While I don't expect much from this one, based on the POV and the announcement video, it seems like the landscaping in and around the ride area will look fairly nice on this coaster. This one just kind of slaloms back and forth and doesn't really seem to do much else, but there are some parts of the experience that seem like they will provide some mild floater, but not much else beyond that. Number 8. DarKoaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. From one great but barely themed coaster to one milder but much more heavily themed coaster, Williamsburg's newest announcement seems like an interesting addition to this park's lineup. This is another Intamin family launch coaster with jet ski trains, which is honestly a bit confusing to me. This coaster has a haunted medieval theme, but you're on jet skis. Whatever. It is very interesting to see, however, that on this one, you seemingly go around the track twice. I'm curious as to what that is going to do for this ride's capacity. It also looks like it may feature some elements that may prove to be slightly more forceful than Arctic Rescue, but we'll actually have to ride it to be able to tell if that's true or not. Number 7. Pipeline the Surf Coaster at SeaWorld Orlando. This B&M new generation stand-up or surf coaster will have a top speed of 60 miles per hour and a length of 2,950 feet. I'm curious to see if B&M can rectify the issues present on B&M stand-ups of old. It looks to be fairly tame as far as transitions go, but there is still some whip present which may provide some decent airtime. The other thing I'm curious about with these is the seating. The seats have a sort of shock absorber which moves up and down in conjunction with the forces on this coaster. This seems like it has the potential for making the coaster feel smoother, as well as possibly amplifying some of the felt positive and negative Gs. I don't always like to be a doubter, but I'm really not sure if a coaster concept like this will be a very popular addition in many North American theme parks. It just doesn't really seem to provide a different enough experience than other B&Ms out there. Number 6. Palindrome at COTALand. This custom Gerstlauer Infinity coaster seems to be a fairly interesting addition. First of all, I'm very interested to see what kind of success COTALand can garner with these additions. We've seen racetracks install roller coasters in the past, and those have always seemed to work out for those places really well. Palindrome seems like it'll be a very short coaster, but with a fairly exciting layout. The spike that you traverse up that reverses the direction of the coaster is designed in such a way that it feels like it will give a unique sense of airtime on the way up and down. But the rest of the layout, at least in the official animated POVs, does seem to be on the slow side. This may be to the coaster's advantage because this slowness could add more of a feeling of hang time on some of the elements. Otherwise, it'll be exciting to see this coaster going over the roadway, and I can't wait to get photos of it. Number 5. Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood. This announcement somewhat surprised me when it was touted as being the longest coaster at the park. It just goes to show that the rest of the coasters at this park are all fairly short. This one is exciting to me in that it is one of the few large-scale Vekomas that we'll be seeing here in North America. One aspect of this ride that I am somewhat excited about is the on-ride soundtrack. While this is a small addition, I always enjoy these kinds of things. It just provides an additional sense of adventure roller coasters that I wish more had. It will have 3,990 feet of track, a top speed of 48 miles per hour, and a max height of 66 feet. It won't be particularly tall or fast, but it does seem like it will provide for a great experience. Being that this is at Dollywood, the theming and landscaping on this coaster seems like it will be great and will provide some great facades. Number 4, Zambezi Zinger at Worlds of Fun. This coaster is a GCI hybrid coaster, with some of the steel GCI Titan track and the rest being made of wooden track. This coaster seems to scream the traditional GCI profiling. It looks to be like the kind of wooden coaster that has a twister layout with quick transitions that feels mildly out of control for nearly the entire duration. This doesn't seem to be the kind of coaster that will hold any sort of legendary status, but it definitely seems like it will be a great addition to the park. While it is being marketed as somewhat of a family coaster, it seems like it will be one of those family but not a family coasters. There are transitions that seem like they'll provide decent pops of airtime, and overall the layout looks fun. Unfortunately, it may be a short while before we get a chance to ride this coaster, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Number 3, Circuit Breaker at COTALand. This is the second major Vekoma coaster opening in North America. Why did it take so long for us to see another tilt coaster? B&M dive machines seem to do incredibly well, and this coaster has a similar sort of appeal with the first major drop. Where I feel this will beat B&M dive coasters is the layout. Those coasters are very formulaic in their design, and there isn't a ton of variation from coaster to coaster. Something that both Vekoma and S&S coasters have in common is their design language. In all honesty, it feels like the designers for these manufacturers took a spline tool and just threw it around everywhere and made a coaster layout out of it. Maybe one of the designers at Vekoma dropped spaghetti on the floor one day, and rather than immediately cleaning it up, looked at it and thought, this would make for a great coaster layout. I am curious though, with this being another prototype coaster, what the reliability of it will be like. Number 2, Arieforce 1 at Fun Spot America Atlanta. This ground-up RMC hybrid is going to be an interesting bid by the Fun Spot chain. This coaster will be 3,400 feet long, 155 feet tall, and will have a top speed of 64 miles per hour. Building a coaster like this at a park like Fun Spot Atlanta is honestly unprecedented and makes me wonder how much this investment will pay off. This one looks like it will have tons of pops of airtime, and the signature dive loop will be interesting to ride, as this was one of the first we've seen on an RMC. Designed by Joe Draves, this one follows closely to the expected design language of RMC coasters, but is interesting to see one that isn't designed by Alan Schilke. This to me speaks to a potential change in the future of RMC, as the newer coasters are seeing some changes in their overall designs. There are rumors that Schilke is slowly stepping down and potentially retiring as the ride designer at RMC, and so it'll be interesting to see the future of the coasters in their lineup. One thing that I can say is, I am excited to see what Joe Draves cooks up, and am confident with his history of roller coasters. Number 1, Wildcat's Revenge at Hersheypark. This can possibly be seen as the biggest and most exciting announcement for this year. This one, similar to Arieforce 1, is credited as being designed by Joe Draves. To continue on my previous thoughts, Draves was the designer on major coasters such as Gale Force at Playland's Castaway Cove, Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom, Steel Curtain at Kennywood, and Max Forest at Six Flags Great America. To say the least, there are some great coasters in his repertoire, so there is no reason in my mind to be afraid of what he might cook up. Wildcat's Revenge will be an RMC hybrid conversion of the former Wildcat. It will be 3,510 feet long, 140 feet tall, and will have a top speed of 62 miles per hour. It's interesting to see this lined up next to the stats of Arieforce 1. Arieforce will be 15 feet taller, 2 miles per hour faster, but 100 feet shorter. To me, the layout of Wildcat's Revenge feels more sprawling but less rapid fire with its elements, which does make the competition between these two very close. Ultimately, I feel like Wildcat's Revenge will win out in that its layout just feels more varied. In the end, I think it will mainly come down to the overall ride experience, and it seems like both of these coasters will be great. There is going to be a lot of competition this year in the amusement industry, and it's interesting to see that there are so many new family coasters this year, as well as ground-up installations at smaller parks. To me, this year seems to spell a bit of a potential change in the amusement industry. We may start to see smaller scale additions that flesh out the experience as parks realize that attracting audiences today takes a bit of a different approach. Certain parks are seeing more theming being added, which makes me feel somewhat excited, as this may drive some parks to put more effort into this aspect of their new additions. There is a pretty good chance that I'll be able to ride some of these coasters this year, so I can't wait to give my thoughts on them as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to leave a like and comment below and consider subscribing. I intend on uploading more content as time goes on and as Katie and I experience more parks and coasters. You can find daily uploads on our Instagram page at Koastermania. Soon we'll be opening an Etsy page where you'll be able to buy prints and more of some of your favorite coaster photography of ours. Thanks for watching the video, and ride on, Coaster Maniacs.